And if you're new here, my name is Skylar Santana, and on this channel, we talk about all things watch related. Today, we're going to be taking a look at some heavy hitters in my collection. I want to show you guys what it means to be on the top of the tier in the watch collection. And I got a mix of things for sure. I've got micro brands, I've got some, I guess, starter luxury would be the category, and then I have Japanese watch. As we're speaking about that, I want to show you guys a wristwatch check. So I'm wearing my Seiko Turtle that I did a modification for, and I have it on this really nice deployment strap as well. You guys know this watch. I modified the Cyclops. I modified the hands. And I also put a ceramic green in there instead of the ceramic black that was in there as well. We are getting a sapphire crystal. So for this King Turtle, this is a fantastic watch. A little bit bigger on the wrist, but fantastic nonetheless. And then, of course, I have my famous F91W, always on wrist, always ready to go. That took the place of the Apple Watch, right? Like a lot of people, when they do double wrist, to make it make sense, they do a smartwatch which tracks their steps and their calories and all the other good things. And I did that for a while. When I was double wristing, I double wristed with an actual smartwatch. But I got tired of charging the damn thing. And I'll be honest with you, I could track my sleep, I could track all these things, but really, what difference does it make? I wasn't planning to run a marathon anyway. So that's that. That's what's on wrist. And again, I have some pretty sweet micro brand watches that I want to show you guys. We've been talking about a lot of affordable watches on the last lives that we've done. So I figured I'd show you guys some of the top tier, right? And just because a watch costs more doesn't necessarily mean that it is higher or above another watch, if that makes sense. Because I'm incredibly attached to this F91W. It means a lot. It's very sentimental. And I wouldn't trade it for any other watch in my collection, to be honest with you. But what price range does give you, and what we're going to take a look at here, is some specification and some convenience in adding stuff to the watch that actually makes it functionally better to wear. Make sense? So again, the Turtle, it was on wrist. I love this thing. While we're on the subject, I'll be honest with you, I'm mad that I didn't touch and feel the watch earlier. If you are newer to watch collecting and you're on the fence about the Seiko Turtle, I'll tell you what, man, all of the things that the SKX is missing, all of the things that people give Seiko kind of a little bit of a backhand for, the Turtle actually fixes, right? You're still getting that basic movement that Seiko is very famous for doing. It's very robust, except it's not very pretty and it doesn't have a high beat. It doesn't do a song and dance, but it gets the job done. When you're wearing a Seiko watch, people, or at least I think the brand, right? Because that's one thing that I was thinking about earlier today. Why hasn't Seiko done the higher echelons for their watches since they've been a manufacturer for a very long time? At this point, they could make an entry level 28,000 beats if they really wanted to. They don't, because I think that a lower beat movement will get you slower to a service call, and it's super robust and it's able to handle a lot. So you're expected to buy this true diver, right? That's another thing too. This is like a true diver's 200 meters. You're able to beat the thing up. You're really able to bring the watch on an adventure. You're really able to wear it, and you don't have to worry about it as much, if that makes sense. Lone Ranger's in the building. What's going on, brother? Good morning. Michael's in the building. Raymond D. David, my man David's in the building. What's up, bro? Raymond D. I already said that. Oscar, good morning, sir. How are you? Welcome, guys. Welcome in. So, yeah, I just wanted to take this time, now that the family has rolled in, to go over a couple of my watches that I consider to be higher end in my collection. And when we talk about that, we talk about where I'm at as a collector. 5 years collecting now. I think that for the most part, not always going to be the case, because I don't shy away from a good deal or something that I'm extremely attracted to, and or it makes sense in my collection for the time. If it happens to be less than the price point that I'm going to mention, of course I'm going to grab it. There's nothing wrong with it. But what I'm noticing is, for what I'm looking for, movements that I haven't experienced, features that I want in a watch, when we talk about the clasp, the quick release, all the other finer details, even the finishing is a thing. It tends to be on a higher price point, and that price point for me is I want to say it probably starts around $1,000 and it goes to 1,500. And that's what I'm going to be sniping moving forward. And as I transition those watches in, they're going to replace the more affordable watches that are giving me what I wanted out of it. So if you think about the Mercury that I showed you yesterday, the Jump Hour, super affordable, hundreds of dollars at this point. But when I purchased it, it was a little bit over $100, somewhere around there, maybe just below it. And if I do get the Traska as an example, when that prototype is done in 26, then I can now let that Mercury go because it doesn't make sense to have two Jump Hours fighting for the same wrist. I could double wrist them, but that'd be overkill for the actual function itself. Yes? You guys are rolling in. You guys are saying hi. I appreciate you guys for sure. So let's stop yapping and let's go on to the first watch that I want to show you guys. Where do I want to go? You know what? Let's go here first. This is what I want to show you guys first. And I'm going to flip the camera around so you guys can get a better view of it, a better camera, if you will. Now, I'm in the shade because I don't want my phone to overheat. You guys know. So here's the deal, man. Entry-level luxury, if you talk about Swiss made, right? Swiss made, just having Swiss made on the dial itself, I feel sometimes raises the bar for the price point in the watch itself. That's just more respected than Japanese manufacturing or the Japanese movements and everything else. It is what it is, but I like this piece. Let me clip my mic. Hold on one second. Let's clip the mic. This way I could have both hands because I do want to show you also that strap because, listen, this is a super popular watch, PRX, and I'll tell you what, even somebody who's been collecting for a while, it's still very relevant. They've come out with the carbon case. We've seen Travis with this watch. We've seen different renditions still come out. This is the regular PRX with the waffle dial, blue colorway. I put this rubber strap that has a summer vibe. It has a double, not friction deployment, but it has like that tension kind of deployment where it just snaps open. Double-sided, and then you just cut it to size. AliExpress special. It sits pretty flush. It gives it a nice vibe. The watch is super thin. And now that I'm talking about the PRX and I'm showing it to you guys, I want to bring up something about it. I learned a lot by this watch. First of all, I tied in really good memories to this watch. This was your entry level to Swiss made. Was that part of the reason why I got it? Absolutely. Was it also part of the reason because there was a lot of hype behind the PRX? 100%. But I'll tell you something. I learned a couple of things, and one of the things that I've learned the most, I would say, that strikes me is the crown size. Now, the crown size is technically correct for the thickness of the watch. As you guys can see, the body of the watch is the same thickness as the crown itself. So it's right, and it's very dressy. It also gives kind of like a sports vibe with the integrated bracelet for sure. But this is where I realized that this size of a crown, now I want to imagine that this is a little less, it's probably like 5 millimeters or maybe a little bit shy of that. That's when I realized that crown size matters. And looking back, if you happen to be watching this, you falling into seeing everybody and their mother doing a review video of the Tissot PRX, take a look at the Tissot Gentleman. I think that if I knew what I knew now going back, I think that that would have been in the running. And I'm not saying 100% I would have went with that watch, but I know that the crown is larger. I do believe it's larger, if I'm not mistaken. And again, it's still going to be a Swiss-made entry level. I think the price point is pretty much the same. If not, it's maybe a little bit less. And I think I would have went with the Gentleman instead of this Tissot PRX. I don't regret the purchase. I have tons of watches where the crown is fine. And I'll tell you something else. The finishing that's done on the Tissot PRX kind of counteracts the size of the crown as well. Two deadly combinations in a bad negative way would be having this size crown and then doing a high polish on it, because then you're going to create an extra slip on the crown itself. Now, the knurling on this crown is done very correct. Even though it's smaller, I could still get a grip. So I'm not mad at it at all. One other thing that I would like to note, and I would like bigger brands to pick up on, is that date window. If the date wheel was actually blue, it would have been better and just have the numbers in white. It's something that we overlook, right? It's something that we more expect from micro brands when it comes to those finer details. But overall, I enjoy the watch. I love the new straps on it. I have leather straps. So if you pick this up, you don't have to. I did it. I went on AliExpress. I picked up a leather strap. I picked up these rubber straps. What else do I have? I have a sailcloth, of course, and the sailcloth works for the Casio Edifice, the new automatic. That's the only strap. If you are looking for a strap for your Casio Edifice, it's the sailcloth version. And if you want a link, just send me a message after this. That's the only one that will work. Everything else won't work at the attachment. But going back to this watch, man, I do rather enjoy it. Yes, it has the exhibition case back, but I don't plan on jumping on the pool with this watch. That's not what I purchased it for. We talked about it yesterday, the compromising of having see-through case backs. But you would imagine that if Tissot is doing it, you would have confidence in the actual water resistance that's within the watch to actually perform the way it needs to. Are you using this for a dive? Surely not, right? But it's not a crazy decorated movement, but it's still, because it's an entry level watch altogether, it's still nice to have that exhibition case back. And I think that overall, the release of that watch was very good for the watch community as a whole. Because when you have some things like the Moon Swatch, when you have things like this PRX, that's very attainable, hot, it's sexy to talk about, it's attractive to be part of that crowd. I get it. It has its place. I think remember, the people on the chat right now, the people who are watching this, we're super watch enthusiasts, but we got to remember that there are loads of people out there that have to be driven into this society and into this hobby. And therefore, you want to get those things that's kind of bring them in. And as long as they're getting used to something on wrist, chances are it's probably like a 90% chance. If you put something on your wrist, even an Apple Watch can lead you down the road of watch collecting. I know this because I came from that, and it was the first step of many. Now the Apple Watch sits in my drawer and it's not charged, but it brings you to it. It brings you to it. I do apologize. Let me catch up on chat. What are we talking about? What are we talking about? I see Hannibal's in the building. What's going on, bro? I do appreciate you. You guys jump in. You know the deal. Jump into the sailcloth, Lone Ranger, wrist check, Hamilton khaki, titanium auto PVD. Very nice, Mega. That's an awesome watch. Holy crap. Dude, I keep saying it. I'm probably going to say it so many times over. The Murph. I came across, I maybe have searched it, who knows, subliminally. Yeah, the Murph, man. The Murph is going to be me for Hamilton. I almost have to. And I'll tell you the best time, and I thought about this. Let me know if this is a dope concept. So I don't want to say that I was underwhelmed with the Murph when I saw it at the wind-up shop, but I want to say that it wasn't really making me need to buy it right then and there. That being said, I still want the watch. Interstellar is a super dope movie. The fact that it was made for enthusiasts that wanted the watch to be created just by seeing that prop from the movie is just a phenomenal story. So if you're not into movie watches, there's more to that story other than somebody just wearing it. And it's just how the theme of the movie, not to ruin it for those who haven't seen it yet, is that love conquers all, even space, time, and reality for that matter, right? And so what I thought would be a really cool concept is if I decided to buy that watch for the birth of my first child. Yep. So the whole movie was about his love for his daughter. So I think that that's going to be the proper time when I add the watch to my collection, and that's when I'm going to do it. Let me catch up on chat, and I'm going to show you guys some more watches. I got some heaters, man. I got some heaters, and I was looking at my watch box, man. First and foremost, I'm blessed. I really love all my timepieces, and it really doesn't matter the price point. But I brought some higher echelons here today, and you guys seen the watches, but it's just going to be part of the conversation, man. I'm just thinking out loud and letting you guys join into my madness. Boulevard Marine Star, nice. I do pop lock. Most people don't drive watches they cost anything over. Most people don't drive with watches that cost. Drive with watches? Like just drive in their car that are over 350? I'm not sure. Christopher White is in the building. What's going on, bro? The Murph is legit. Works for me in the 42 millimeter. You know what? I tried on the 38. They unfortunately didn't have the 42 for me to try on. It's hard for me to imagine that the 42 will work. Here, look, this Seiko Turtle is a large, big boy. I think that I still need to risk the 42 before I make a final decision. Now, I don't mind if a watch takes up a lot of space on the wrist like this one does, but I do mind if the lugs hang over. I did see somebody talking about it and had it on wrist. Of course, there is the fact that there is the Morse code on the second hand that's not on the 38. But the point is this, I want to make sure that those lugs are curved enough to not fall over and spill over from bone to bone, right? When that happens, and my Boulevard Luna Pilot, I let that one slide, but knowing what I know now, just like I said about the Crown, yeah, that ain't going to work for me. So I'm willing to sacrifice the Morse code. Plus, it gives more of a vintage vibe. I know a 38 technically is not a vintage vibe. It's not exactly a vintage size, right? Vintage sizes are like 33 to 36. However, modern day vintage could be construed as that, depending also on the size of your wrist. I have a 7 and a quarter inch wrist. I can put a 42 all the way to a 38, which I think fits fantastic. I think my sweet spot is a 38. I want to say maybe even a 37, but that's a size that you don't really see. So I want to say a 38 to a 40. And I think that that's what fits my wrist the best. When I put the 38 Hamilton Murph on, it was on the money. And I am planning to get it with a bracelet, and I will be buying it from the wind up shop for sure. I gotta show love. I gotta support. Larry from New York, Mexico. My watch of the day is going to be my Zelos Great White. Fantastic, Larry. That's a fan. I mean, anything Zelos. I was on the fence. I didn't bring my Zelos with me here today, unfortunately. But I'm gonna show you the next watch, and it's a watch you've seen before. Matter of fact, let's skip that one for now. Where did we go? So we went Swiss made entry, right? With the Tissot PRX. Since we're on that bigger brand motion, let's look at the Squale, right? 1521 Oceanic. Originally comes with a leather strap. I gave it that orange vibe to go with it. This one actually is a strap habit deployment. I want to show you guys the watch as well. Let's flip it over, show you guys the strap. I mean, so this one's on a push deployment from Strap Habit. Super supple FKM band as well. I like to match that with the actual minute hand because you like to pull out those minor details that are in the watch to make it just really vibe out. But fantastic aesthetically for sure. And this was my first experience for a independent brand that is Squale's an independent brand, right? They're not considered a big brand. Tissot's considered a big brand, obviously, but I think Squale's more of the bigger independent brands with loads of history. We're talking 1960s, 1970s when they were making cases for other brands, right? And so I wanted to experience what that historical factor is with the watches. Let me get a watch from a brand that has a lot of history and is well respected and everything else to see how I feel and how I react to it, right? And again, we're talking about that $1,200 to $1,500 price range for a brand new one at this point. This one is a lot less, but this one in particular. But yo, fantastic! And I'll tell you what, man. If I may, let me catch up on chat, and I want to give you guys a hot take on that watch. Interstellar is fantastic. Definitely recommend watching that movie. Watch wearers, enthusiasts, and watch collectors are all in the same club. I do agree with that. Anyone owning more than two watches, Michael, I go even further than that, dude. Even if you don't even own a watch, you could be considered a watch enthusiast. It's just a matter of how much knowledge you dare obtain, what's your enthusiasm, dude. I would employ, if you don't even own a single watch, go to a watch meetup. I guarantee you, so long as you're in the right set of group, because if I was hosting a watch meetup, which I might do in the future, I want that guy who is very new to watch collecting, doesn't even own a single watch, but is there for the knowledge, is there for the community, it's there for the people. Because if you don't have that, then none of this makes sense. And so even before you even make the first move on your first watch, if you want to go to a watch meetup and vibe out, get information, and I'll tell you what, man, somebody who has a low amount of watches in their collection, maybe they're in year 3 or 4, I dare say that if they showed extreme restraint, let's say they got a watch a year, let's say they own 3 watches, they may not have the physical experience of owning a person who has 60 watches in 3 years, but I'll tell you what, they probably did a tremendous amount of research. They're probably into the hobby for that factor if they're in fact an enthusiast. So I do agree with you. I just want to compound what you said to even go even further to say, if you have no watch, if you have an Apple Watch, whatever watch that you or may not have, whatever size collection you have, do yourself a favor. If you're into this and you want to go past just watching content, look for your local meetups, look for your local fairs and shows, look for community. Nothing will ignite you more than compounding people and community with your hobby. That has been the main difference that has happened for me in this hobby. Wind Up 2023, after collecting for 3 years, accelerated my interest for watches, and it really showed me the community behind it. Because before that, sure, you see the comments and sure, you see the videos, but when you're in person and you're elbow to elbow and there's 80 brands, because I thought originally going to the show, I thought there was going to be like, I don't know, at most, I thought there was going to be like 15, 10 brands. When I saw how many brands and I saw how many people, and I saw people were saying the same thing, and just Not gonna say every single person, but I'm gonna say in a majority, the people that are watch collecting are just good people, man. They're just really good, humble people that are just friendly, more than willing to give you information, more than willing to talk about their watch. Don't ask them what they paid on the watch. If you're new to watch collecting, that's a little rude. If they talk about it, then you can talk about it. I don't mind personally, but I know that that's a thing if we're talking about mannerisms. But aside from that, man, yeah, this man oh man, like even starting off in my journey and talking about watches here on the internet, just people have sent me watches in their collection. I was like, oh, I want to do a review video of comparing the Nomoki Alpinist to an actual Alpinist. Dude, somebody sent me their watch, and my wife was like, they sent you their watch. I'm like, they don't know you. And I'm like, yeah, I know, but it's just that instant connection. It's that instant vibe that we have to say that we're just in this for the right reasons, for the most part, and welcoming for the most part. Ben 10 News is in the building. Where was I? Watch wearers, enthusiasts, watch collectors, and all in the same club. Anyone? Yeah, I just want to make sure I read that right. But yeah, Michael, that's a good point. Thank you for that, man. Your phone might be overheating. Ah, I'm in the shade too, bro. That's crazy. If my phone's actually overheating, let me know if it cleared up. I'm literally in the shade. I don't know much more that I could do. Where we at? Where we at? I think I'm caught up. Jason S is in the building. What's going on, bro? Yeah, we're caught up. Ben 10 says, good morning, everyone. Lets us know he's wearing his VC, Vacheron Constantin. Cool, man. Let's go on to the next watch. Let me know if, get a pixel. Let me know if I'm clearing up, if I'm actually overheating. Hopefully I'm not. I'm in the shade, so I'm doing the best I can. So we went from Swiss made, right? Entry. And I don't really like to use the word entry, but the point of it is just to like, that is like one of the most affordable ways to get into a Swiss made watch. Squale, which is also Swiss made, if I'm not mistaken, yes? Yeah, it is. But I also think that they're an independent Swiss made brand, so there is a difference there. But this is a fantastic watch, man. I absolutely adore it. They do have other things going on with it, cost certified and stuff like that. But I'll tell you what, Squale, I love you, but you're only going to get me one time. Because if I had to make something, I had to make a move on something that would be similar, where I would be accepting it, it would have to be Doxa. And if you go Doxa, you got to get the orange dial. At least to me, in my own opinion. If I was going to move over and get another watch that has the nautical theme and that kind of vibe, it would be a Doxa for sure. I'm going to put one in my collection just to experience it. Moving on. Let's talk about my man over here, Long Island Watch, because he's been doing the community a service constantly over the years, month to month, week to week, just keeping us updated on what are the behind the scenes for the watch market and what it means to be in the watch market. Yes. So let's take it off the actual roll here. And this is the ISL 245 Miyota 9075. I modified the bezel insert. I've shown you guys this watch before as well. This is a price point that I was speaking about before, right? Out of this, you're getting a high B True Traveler GMT. The crown, unlike the Tissot, is very, very robust, very easy to grip. Just showing what a microbrand can do, and I think that the design is right on its head. Every time I look at this watch or I look at the three-hander, it was a Miyota 9015, I believe. Yeah, date. He has two versions of this. He has this GMT, and then he has the three-hander Miyota 9015. Both phenomenal watches. The 9015 three-hander was out of stock, and I'll tell you what, I look back at this and I was glad that the three-hander was out of stock when I originally wanted it. And I actually got this watch for a couple of reasons. One being that I didn't have too many True Travelers in my collection just yet. But the other one being that I actually like the aesthetics of this overall after all. So fantastic watch, New York brand. I always mention to support your local micro brands. Now I did a modification to the bezel insert just because I was feeling a type of way. I wanted some more color. And look, I did that also for my Seiko Turtle, right? Like both of them had that kind of black bezel insert. And I don't know if this is picking up, but this is kind of like a green to match the green in the center there. So I think that aside from liking white dials more often, I think that I like color in the bezel insert a little bit more than just having black. But when it was black, it did have a good contrast. So it did make sense technically. And it was, listen, there's nothing wrong with the original, right? I love the original as well. I just put my 2 cents into it. Let's end it there. Beads of Rice bracelet. milled, of course. We're not getting quick release. We're not getting on the fly. I would love it if Mark was able to make that change. But you know what? At the same time, he's looking to come in at a certain price point. I may say that, but I don't know the trials and tribulations that it takes to actually get that stuff in bulk. I do know that somebody like, let's say, Squale or even the Tissot, right? Like big brands, even the Seiko Turtle. Like there's no I listen, I don't mind, especially on this turtle. It originally comes with a rubber strap, and it's very thick, but it's actually very soft. It's very comfortable. But I don't give a pass to a bigger brand like Seiko, Casio, anybody who's trying to enter into the watch enthusiast space that doesn't have quick release, doesn't have diver extension. You have the buying power. Listen, if I'm one of those bigger brands, I'm going to the manufacturer, I'm calling them down in a meeting. I want to have a meeting with four of the top manufacturers that I have my eyes on that make those kind of functions, and I want to say straight up to them, no BS, no wasting time. I'm looking to add quick release. I'm looking to add on the fly. I want it to be a milled clasp. Whoever gives me the lowest bid on it is going to be the person I go with. You guys all make good stuff, but I am that type of brand, and I'm going to put in an order of 100,000 of those units. So I think that these bigger brands really should be trying to listen and give watch enthusiasts a little bit more out of their specs, especially. And I'll tell you what, the micro brands are on their heels for that reason. It gives them that opening. Even if the bigger brands were to do that more, would I say that micro brands are going to go away? No, because micro brands still have that flexibility, right? Remember, they're always still very flexible in design, modifications to movements. They don't have big caliber they don't have big manufacturing orders and overhead where they can't pivot, right? So micro brands are very squirrely in that way, in a good way. And so, yeah, man, that's just my rant. Let me not go too far off the deep end. But I really think that all of them, especially Casio's getting into automatic now. Like, dude, I know that they're not going to stop there. Like, I know. I got a source for that. For sure, Casio is going to continue. Hopefully, they're listening and they're hearing those little details that should come as a minimum with a brand that's that size. And if you really want to eat some of that lunch that you may feel like you're missing, chances are they don't go about it that way, because remember, it's a different ball game. Sure, they want to eat the little man's lunch as well, but they understand that there's a whole pool of people that are entering into watch enthusiasm year to year. People are going for their first buy. When you talk about Casio and Seiko, especially Timex, for those affordable entry or first time pieces, people wrap their mind around spending hundreds of dollars on a mechanical movement. I think that that's really a bigger ocean to fish out of than stealing business back, however you want to call it. Anyway, where was I? Let me catch up on chat. I was there. Where is it? Something about, okay. See if you guys said anything to me. Country of origin means nothing. Means nothing when it comes to watches. I'm totally region agnostic, so long as the boxes are ticked. Yeah, I think so too. That's a good comment. I don't think that was directly for me, but I'm the same way, dude. I don't understand why the Japanese watches in general don't get as much attention, or I'm not going to say they don't get as much attention, right? Because Seiko gets a lot of attention. And if you want to blow it up and talk about their parts for actual modifications and stuff like that, like Seiko gets covered a lot. A lot of people pay attention to anything that Seiko does. What I can say is that there's just not that higher echelons type of feel or vibe when it comes, oh, that's just an NH movie. Oh, that's just, you know what I mean? And I don't understand it, because like it's just a darn good movement. It's just so robust. It does its job. You know what I mean? It's like that guy that never calls out of work and you're just rolling your eyes, but then you get so mad when the top salesperson is calling out once a week and like leaving you high and dry, right? Not to that dramatic effect, but you understand what I'm saying. I think. I just tuned in. Appreciate you. What is this? This is a watch channel all about watches and watch enthusiasm, sir. Oh, the bezel insert was made me want it. Yeah, I know, man. I'm sorry. That was my little rendition and my little swing to the movement. I tell you what, though, man. If you are liking everything else about the watch and you want that bezel insert, I have no problem giving you my plug. The guy who made that bezel insert, by the way, you cannot go and buy a bezel insert specifically for the Mark's model. It was extremely difficult, and there is a very specific sizing. It was even hard for me to find the bezel insert for the Seiko Turtle. Less than that. That bezel insert was actually handmade by a certain person that will actually take dimensions of what you give him specifically, and he'll give you whatever colorway. Like, as you can see, the bezel insert matches the dial so well. That's because I gave him the colorway to the actual dial that I wanted to match, and he did a phenomenal job. So I have no problem giving you a plug to that as well. And if it's not for buying this watch and changing that out, maybe you have a watch in mind that you're having trouble finding a bezel insert specifically. Does anyone in here own a Brewmatic watch? What's your opinion? I've been looking at them. So I did a live stream, Squirrel. I did a live stream from the brew shop, and I gave my thoughts and opinions on it. I think it's a fantastic watch. I think all the automatics from Brew is very nice. I think that the NH movement was a good entry way to automatic for him. Jonathan took 10 years before doing that, must have heard a lot of feedback and was ready to pull the trigger on such a thing after having so much success with his metric watch, right? So where else to go from there? And he pivoted into. I had him in hand. I believe it's the SW210 if you're talking about the Swiss one, and it feels really good. It feels really good. And I'll tell you what, as far as quartz is concerned, because quartz you can get a different range and a different feel, not only for the actual weight of the unit, right? Sometimes that's a mind-bending type of thing, but just quartz in general, if not done well, can feel cheap. It can feel underserving. And none of his watches feel that way. The actual buttons have a good feedback, have a good feel to them. You feel the click as if it's fully mechanical. Of course, his movement is a Mega Quartz, so it's technically partly mechanical, but makes fantastic watches. And if you want to go for the automatic version of it, I do recommend that as well. I don't own it though. I only went to his shop a couple of times in hand. Excuse me, I went to his shop once or twice. I think it was once, and handled it, but I haven't owned it. Skylar does, yeah. You knew I was going to get into that. Julius Caesar. All hail Julius is in the building. Santana, even though you talking Switch watch, I can see your Casio F91W. Absolutely, dude. And dude, I don't care how much watch I could afford in the future. You will see, if you see a Rolex on this arm, you will still see an F91W. And this thing is it's a birth year watch, baby. Like, they came out with the F91W the year I was born. I think it was a couple of months shy, but I think we all get a little romantic about finding a birth year watch. Vintage wasn't the way for me to go because of the reasons I stated on the last live. And so when I found out, and I found out after I ordered it, if I'm being honest, but yeah, dude, I'm always going to be rocking this F91. This is, listen to me. If I'm blessed with kids in the near future, they're going to want to own this watch over everything else because I'm technically wearing this watch pretty much 365 days. Love it. I love it, love it, love it. Big advocate for it. And it's at a great price. I will be waiting to do that later. Wound up top, right? Okay. A portion of the watch community is eccentric and will continually move the goalpost in order to be able to define what entry level luxury is. Yeah, I think everything is fluid. I think everything changes over time. I think that whether it be luxury brands or it be micro brands, I think that there's a very strong possibility for, even with micro brands, right? Like, there's always going to be the guy that wants to take advantage of the price point if you go higher in price, right? Like, somebody says, okay, Jack Mason is moving upstream, so let me take his position. Not saying that that's probably how it's thought about directly, but I think that some of those things are factored in, especially if you're in the territory of Texas, right? If I'm thinking Dufresne and I'm thinking about Jack Mason is what? Jack Mason is, let me see if I get this correctly. Which one is Austin, Texas, and which one is Dallas? Uh, I want to say Jack Mason is Dallas, and I want to say Dufresne is Austin. But my point is this: I think everything is kind of fluid when it comes to that. Even micro brands and what they're able to achieve nowadays, like the watches they're able to achieve. Like this watch is damn near as well built as my Tissot. You know what I mean? I can't say it's as well built as the Squale because of the specifications that they were able to achieve. What is it, like 500 meters of water resistance? Something ridiculous that I will never get to use. Can I give you guys the hot take that I forgot to mention before? The Squale gives me a Seiko vibe. Yeah, I said it. It does give me a Seiko vibe, man, and just where the crown position is and everything else. Definitely not design wise. I think it's very out there when it comes to the actual electric blue that it gives. But I'll tell you what, man, I'm looking at this thing, I'm holding it when I'm holding my SKX. The crown position for sure, but I don't know, man. It gives me that kind of vibe and everything else. So if I'm gonna appreciate anything, it has the receding crown. That's something that's a little different too, right? It goes into the case a little bit when it's screwed in. But doesn't this give an SKX vibe for sure? I don't know. I don't know. So all I'm left with is my own deeper appreciation to maybe the brand's historic value. Maybe I appreciate that it's 500 meters. Am I ever going to need that much? I think that I'd be in a lot of trouble if I needed 500 meters of water resistance on my watch. Let's just say that. Where were we? Oh, wait, hold on. Is anyone here? Okay, read that. I'm a one watch a year collector. I am a one watch a year collector. Larry, I like that. I like that, and I kind of want to start being more of a purchaser in that kind of way. I think when you purchase a watch once a year, you're really able to not be overly excited to put anything in your collection. And even if you have a better control over it, if you are telling yourself that you have enough in your collection right now that you only want to do one unit a year and put more into it, I think that's a fantastic notion. But I just spent my annual I didn't read the rest. Larry. Larry. Oh boy, it'd be like that, bro. Let me read the rest on a pretty sweet turntable. Oh, okay, okay, okay. So it was for something. I am thinking of getting someone to build a Nomoki watch for me. I already purchased a face. Well, that is some subliminal messaging, Larry. I think that you said that sentence on purpose on this channel to me. Just saying. We'll talk, bro. We'll talk. Hannibal Skyline. As a matter of fact, Larry, I may have a Nomoki watch. I mean, you have a particular. We'll talk, bro. We'll talk. Hit me up. Hit me up after. We'll talk. What are we talking about? Or Larry, I may push you to try and assemble it yourself, sir. Listen to me. As much as you just want to say no, because I'm sure you considered that, I have to go ahead and try to encourage you to do that. It's an experience. If you need, bro, if you need a tool set, I have an extra tool set. Like maybe try to attempt it yourself. And if you get to the point where you don't want to, I'll correct everything else afterwards on the build, if that makes sense. But I would like for you to at least attempt it because you get a completely different appreciation and respect for watch building. Unless you tried it already and you found out it's not for you, but if you have it, I would say buy the parts, give it a shot. I have videos on building watches and how to go step by step with that. Give that a shot, dude. At least attempt it. Try to get the experience from it. And if you get stuck and or it doesn't work out, then you could send me the parts and I'll finish it for you. Yeah, I like that idea. That way I'm not stealing anything from you, bro. Because you just get a level of appreciation. And if you're able to actually build it, when you wear that watch, it was your blood, sweat, and tears that actually put it together. So it's a super dope experience that I want you to experience yourself. Santana, even though, okay, I was there. Holy crap, I lost my place. I'm gonna have to start from the bottom and go up. Let's see. I'm just kidding. I too own one. I got my first F91W when I was 19. Yeah, bro, it's a great watch. Oh man, here come the trolls. Yo, let's take care of that last comment, please. Silly, silly, silly. Um, where were we? I had a bad experience with Seiko. Never looked back. Okay, good. This is good. I had a bad experience with Seiko and never looked back. If I had to wear a Seiko to save the world, jeez. Okay, so when I talk about perspective, that you receive from actually building a watch. And I want to show you guys my last two watches before we get out of here. But if I talk about perspective in building a watch, the reason why I said I don't want to steal somebody's opportunity to experience that, dude, you realize how fragile these watches are. And you may be saying to yourself, dude, I don't care. I paid money. I want a perfect watch. I get it. I don't know what was wrong with it, but I can tell you this, dude. These things are as robust as they can be if they're built correctly. At the same time, if a fraction of a hairline, if something is misaligned when being assembled, a small vibration through shipping, there's so many things, dude. And I'll tell you, this is what happened for me. I don't know if it's going to work for you, but what happened for me is once I assembled watches, and I thought that, look, it didn't happen right away. I've built over 50 watches at this point. When I got to watch 49, no, when I got to watch 50, let's say, and I still made small mistakes where I thought that I was really experienced, I started to really appreciate the dexterity, the skill level. Like, it's an actual skill to put these things together. A lot of things are automated, but some of the things just have to get to a human touch. So I say all that to say this, man. I've let a lot of things in moving forward off the hook. I don't get as mad so long as the brand is going to fix whatever it is that is wrong with what I purchased. I'm cool with it. The minute I purchase something and you're like, you're beat, then that's different. But maybe that was your experience. But I just wanted to share that regardless. Same here. No matter what watches I own, I'll always have a G-Shock. Yeah, dude, 100%. G-Shocks are for everyone. I mean, every watch is for everyone, but what I've found is G-Shocks sneak their way into many collections. That is, to define that word, it's not easy to, as some people might see it experience, while other people might see it very cheap. It depending on your yeah. Okay, that was the Megazord. Made in Japan used to be a dirty word. It's looked on in country now. Yeah, and you know what, man? Like, listen, somebody just said they had a bad experience with Seiko. Seiko's notoriously, even to this day, known for misaligning stuff. I mean, it's not going to stop me from buying the watch. It didn't stop me from buying the watch. I got this watch. I think it was actually the chapter ring that was slightly misaligned. But again, not to beat a dead horse, but knowing that I could just remove that bezel insert and then reapply it, and then I'll just be happy. Like, the watch as a whole is fantastic. So I don't want to rob myself of a good experience personally out of a watch just because it has little things here and there. But I totally understand if that's not your shtick and you want something that's perfect because you spent your hard-earned money. Of course, 100%. All I'm doing is trying to provide extra additional perspective in the matter. Okay, I think I read that. Let's go back to the bottom. What makes me a great guy? What makes you a great guy? Definitely a member of the club. What makes me a great guy? Is that a question? That makes you a great guy. Oh, okay. Appreciate you, bro. I think you're talking about me. Maybe you're talking about somebody else. As I'm the guy who would buy a Patek and just put on oh, okay, we're talking about that. Okay. Hold on, I agree. Keep silly. Okay, I think I caught up on chat. Yeah. Okay, moving on. What's the next watch? Talking about luxury feel. Now we're moving over to micro brands. You guys, of course, have seen this watch way too many times, but we're going to just talk about it real quick and we'll move on to the next one. Of course, it's the Wise. Always talk about this watch. Oh, since I've done the review and everything else, I mean, you talk about heavy hitters in my collection. Listen, I'm showing you this watch once again because it brings up a fantastic point. And you know what? An idea came across my mind this morning when I was thinking about this watch, when I was thinking about what watches I wanted to bring with me. Wise gives me the same feeling that Erebus watches do. Am I saying that those two are within the same category? They're not, right? I think one does better here, one does better there. The point is this. When it comes to checking off boxes and specifications and doing all the things that make the watch just feel really thought out and all of the details covered, like even the Erebus website, I've been reviewing watches for quite some time now. I always obviously refer to the website for specs and stuff that I'm going to talk about alongside of my actual experience with the watch. I found that a lot of micro brands But even more so, we were talking about yesterday with the actual Chinese production watches that are wanting to enter into that micro brand space. Dude, there's a lot of information missing. And sometimes it's basic stuff. Sometimes it's just like the lug to lug is not on there, which is wild to me. So not only does the website need to be improved on a lot of fronts, but my point of bringing that up, dude, is you can tell that Erebus was born from an actual watch enthusiast reviewer. And I've not found another watch company that has all the things on the website itself, like the crown dimensions, just all of the details. You're basically watching a Jody review if you go to the website and you look up specifications for his watches. Much like the Erebus watches that check off a lot of boxes on those specification fronts, like being super detailed for the smallest things, right? Just the date wheel, as you guys can see at the 6 o'clock, is it has a culling matching date wheel on it, right? So that's something that even other micro brands like I showed you before, right? What was the watch? The Squale doesn't have a matching one, right? The Squale has a white actual date wheel aperture. The Tissot PRX certainly doesn't have it. So one thing that micro brands have over the big brands is super refined details for those little tiny things. Further than that, the Wise bracelet is completely 100% toolless. It has that adjustable link that you twist and pull out. It has the quick release. It has the on the fly. It has everything, man. And the bracelet is buttery smooth. So all of the finer details, I showed you guys the actual polishing in between and everything. Like it just hits. So if you're talking about Wise, and I like to relate Wise with Erebus, even though I feel like they're wildly different. As Erebus begins to snowball and really plant themselves in their position, which they've hit the ground running, which made sense because everybody knows who Jody is at this point if you're into watch reviews. And so, of course he was going to have support. You can't say it was a guarantee, but you could say it's a likelihood. But I still think that in their position, they're still looking for a 100% brand identity. Right now, their brand identity is being damn near one of the most perfect specifications and checklist, box checklist checkers. That being said, that Wise does all the things as well. And it's at a price point, but that's not at that $1,000 threshold. That watch effectively is, and of course, listen, I stopped even mentioning prices a while ago when it comes to, even when I do the reviews, because it just changed so rapidly. But we're talking about a range of, I don't know, $650 to $800, somewhere around there. After taxes is probably like seven and change, actually. So for that price to get all of those things hit, and now they're introducing colorways into that. That was the one thing that I thought was missing from the ADX collection. Not saying the entire collection for Wise, they had colorways in there, but now they're starting to introduce more colors for the watch for sure. So, I mean, they're going to be at Wind Up. We talked about this yesterday. I had to bring them because they give me that feel of higher echelons in the collection, regardless of price point, right? They don't have to be a $1,500 watch, which it would be very difficult. You know what's funny? I'm about to say that, right? But again, one thing that I'm just flying over my head. This is all 904L stainless steel, completely different from the regular stainless steel that we have on most watches. So, dude, if any of the brands, and I'm not just saying the high end brands, if any other brand did that higher steel, you could bet your bottom dollar that you're paying hundreds of dollars for that feature alone, just because it's that different. And that's what the flexibility and the differences of micro brands. Not saying that they're the only one, Rolex being the obvious answer for who else does it. I don't see it that often in other micro brands. I don't see that often in other big brands at all. And that's going to tie into the next watch as well. And those are going to be examples of things that micro brands achieve, adding to their watches and giving them that space and that creativity, regardless if those big brands do catch up and catch on to those specifications that we mentioned in the beginning, just to tie everything all together. One of these reasons I want a Wise because of the 904 stainless. That was basically, so you know that movie, right? First you had my attention, but now you have my something. He says something like that, dude. When I heard 904, because look, at a certain point, when you have X amount of watches, right? There has to be the why moving forward as to why I'm going to put the next watch in my collection. They're all doing the same thing. A lot of these watches that I'm showing you have a lot of the bezel, the diver bezels, the GMT bezels, and everything else. So there has to be the why. It was more than just the 904 steel because I also get attracted as a reviewer side of things. I'm listening to what community members say about watches in particular. And when I come across a brand where somebody says, "Yeah, I bought multiples of this set company's watches," that raises a red flag. Not necessarily a red flag, a green flag, where it's like, what's going on over here, right? And the fact that the entire watch is 904 steel, now, is it going to change your life? Is it going to change your collection altogether? Is it going to, make you a completely different? No, it's not. It's still nice to experience it. And on camera, you can't even really tell the difference. The biggest thing is when they do the polishing for it, it's at a higher rate of polish. It's a stronger polish, if you will. But it's still super dope that it has that factor and it's for you. The watch is for you. So that feature, regardless if somebody could tell in real time if it actually is 904 or not, is regardless. It just fills that kind of different material into your collection, is what I think you were saying, Oscar. Same thing when it came to bronze material, same thing when it comes to PVD coated and all those things. We like to at least at one point experience what that would be, regardless if we are actually completely attracted to it. Microbrands pay more attention to the audience because they're on the ground. Yeah, they have boots on the ground, including the owner. They also benefit from ready to use templates. And yeah, 100%. 100%. And some of the best ones are getting further and further away from those templates and on the shelf. And I think that's just a normal process, Ben. I think that it's very common for you to start off with something that's more readily available, more high produced. Obviously, if a lot of people are using the same kind of case, it's going to drive the price down. If you're a new brand and you're just getting your footing, your spending power is going to be a little different than after 10 years. And usually that 10-year mark is when we start to see a lot of maturity and we see the brand become a lot more adventurous. Some of them do things sooner than that. I think Erebus is transitioning very rapidly. We see that from every collection coming out. We see something a little different. We see something that it's very common, but at the same time they throw in something that is a little different, if that makes sense. So if you start off with just their entry divers that they did, it was very generic, very generic. It was, you could find that diver everywhere. Then he went to the Ascent, where he was already using materials in the dial that were different: aventurine, malachite, mother of pearl, whatever. And then from there, now he's going to the larger cases, and I think that they're going to have the helium escape valve and the higher meters of water resistance. They're improving things on all the fronts. But even with the Ascent, we saw the quick release, we saw the on the fly. It was at a price point that I think is very aggressive, and I think it was. I don't think it was. It was even about profit at that point. To be honest with you, I think that they would have been good with breaking even. Here's the thing: there's power in getting watches on wrists. If you want to know what the best way to advertise is, forget about Instagram, forget about Facebook, forget about YouTube videos, forget about reviewers. If people have your watch on wrist and other people see that, that's going to be the strongest way to do it. And I think that that's exactly what they did with the Ascent. And they let that bad boy marinate and cook. And then they gave them out at a price point that was super aggressive right before we see the tariffs and everything go higher in cost. So it was a very smart move. And we've seen them already do sizes that we don't normally see when it comes to micro brands, right? The smaller sizes. So like Erebus is hungry and they're plugged into the matrix. You talked about boots on the ground. They are the boots on the ground, right? He was a reviewer. So if you're going to pay attention to a brand and you want to see one go through phases very rapidly in a very successful way to do it, I love the fact that they're not just riding on the coattails of their popularity through Jody's channel. I think that his partner that he's doing this business with is very, very savvy. I've spoken to him offline. Fantastic extension of what Jody's personality seems, which also he's identical in person that he is online. And yeah, man, let's not get too off topic. Just to say, Erebus is doing great things, man. And to your point, microbrands pay more attention, and I couldn't think of a better example. Color matching is color for aesthetics, but white and black is more visible when you can. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And I'll tell you what, you that's a good point. Like, there's a time and place. But I feel like, a time and place for me would have been to, yeah, it would have been more visible, but I would have liked that to have been blended. I think that sticks out a little too harsh. When it doesn't, it's fine. But I think that when it sticks out a little bit too much for me, I think that that's when I would like it to blend. But maybe you feel differently. Maybe you want it to be extremely visible. You want it to be maybe you're upper. You're there. You're old. I'm trying to find a nice way to say this. Maybe you're not young anymore, and it's harder for you to see those type of things. My phone just officially got darker, so I think it's trying not to overheat. Hopefully, I'm not too glitchy. I'm gonna skip the chat and I'm going to. What about the Casio Automatic? I've talked about that, broski, so many times, bro. I love the damn thing, and I'm eventually gonna do a review on it. But I'm all for that. I'm all for the Casio Automatic. I have it. I had to get it, bro. It's a piece of history at this point. First time that Casio does an automatic. Who doesn't want that? And if you think they're going to stop, you're mad. So, I mean, when that thing goes discontinued, and it's going to become a thing, man, I'm not trying to make you spend your money. But I will tell you this. If Casio was to say, hey, we're coming out with our Nest Automatic, and that first one was just a test run, we're going to discontinue that. Everybody's going to lose their mind, and that watch is going to go for $2,000 easily. Easily, if not more. Having a Rolex without the insane price. I do agree with that, Oscar. I kind of feel that way. Then again, listen, I like to see things like that, but I've never owned a Rolex, right? So, it definitely gives me that type of vibe. But I've always felt like, I refuse to believe that you can't appreciate a watch that fits and does a lot of things for those categories and specifications. And I don't think you have to spend 10 grand for it. I could say that. Whether it be a micro brand, whether it be an independent brand, it doesn't really matter. I think that diminishing returns are real when it comes to watches, unless you just want to pay for the actual history and everything else. Some micros are coming, and if we're using Rolex as an example, to be honest with you, if you're going to spend a lot of money, that is the watch to go for, because you kind of protect your investment if you ever want to get out of that watch, instead of like buying a $10,000 watch that's worth $2,000 if you try to sell it. Not that you want to buy a watch to sell it, but it happens. It becomes part of the process sometimes. Some micros are coming on strong, catching the attention of some of the big dogs. Yeah, for sure. I'm trying to read chat, guys, but my screen got extra dark. Let me know if I'm choppy or if I'm still kind of clear. I know for sure my phone just went into protection mode to not overheat. It just dropped the backlight for me a little. All right, so I want to show you my last watch. Let me know how the feed is coming through. Make sure I'm still good. So my last watch, speaking of that comment that was just made about how the Wise watch gives you a very luxurious feel without the price tag, and on the subject and topic of having uncommon materials within the watch like 904L steel, we of course got to bring up the Venetianico, right? Venetianico, Nerede, Aureo, the golden boy, the golden dial. Now, there's a polish on this bezel insert because it is actually tungsten, which is the rare material. Plus, we have electroplated on the dial. This is not just a gold-looking watch. It's actually gold-plated through electroplating. So when we talk about actual, like, a luxurious feel and having some, qualities within the watch, again, if any of the brands, big brands, now they probably would do a solid gold if they had the option, but maybe not. And that's not true. I often am having a superpower in mind as far as a brand, but there are luxury brands that don't cost as much and stuff like that. But I'll tell you what, man, the minute they do anything outside of the the regular stainless steel, and they give you something like tungsten, or they give you something for sure gold, right, on the dial itself, yeah, they're gonna slap a hefty price tag on it. So, leaning into the micros and independent brands and how they really provide a service, you're able to get a Swiss-made movement like the SW200-1. You're able to get tungsten that's polished, which we've mentioned this many, many times over and over again. Why not do that? Why don't we see that so often, so much more often in other brands that want to have a polished bezel insert? Because as we know, if you were to take steel and polish it and put it as a bezel insert, it'll be scratch galore. Now, because this is tungsten, it's wildly resistant. In fact, I don't have a single scratch that's visible yet on this as well. Do I wear this every day? No, but even still, yo, sometimes I'm field testing a watch in the house for a couple of days. Like I just didn't get the chance to bring it outside yet, and I get scratches from running my arm across the couch, and I have like a cloth couch. Like it's ridiculous. So polished, going back to the whys and some of the gripes that people had, especially the 900 steel on here, it's very easy to scratch, and some people don't like that, right? As opposed to using tungsten. Now, tungsten is heavy, right? Like this watch is very hefty. I think it also is in contribute to that gold plating method as well. This watch is very, very hefty, but very, very nice. And this was early on to Venetianico doing a lot of different renditions for their dials. Now I myself, as much as I love Venetianico, I can't keep up with them. They've also included an in-house movement. They won't stop with releases. A lot of them are absolutely fantastic. I mean, I'm attracted to a lot of them. When you talk, don't. If you're a dial guy, they're a very dangerous brand for you. They're a very dangerous brand because every week they're going to come out with a material that you haven't seen as much on the dial, or it's just the way that they do it and they compose it. But like you guys were saying in chat, the incredible advantage that micro brands have, listening to their customers, boots on the ground. They already did a 39 version of this 42 millimeter Nere de Aoreo. And that is purely because I remember when this was first starting being reviewed, and this is the reason why I had to do this as a sponsored video, by the way. They did allow me to keep this watch after I was done doing the review. That and also the Wise, and that was it. So I want to be very clear here, but my point is this, man. The biggest thing that people said is that they didn't need the aperture there, but at that point they were doing the SW200. So if you just covered it up, now you have another problem. So I think they remedied that on the 39. I believe they did a Miyota movement, and they did the 9039. So it's a true no date wheel, no ghost position for that watch, and they shrunk it to a 39. So a brand that listens, a brand that pivots, a brand that does done at this point an in-house movement, does very artistic dials and everything else. It's just a great example of another very strong micro brand for several different reasons, and they usually and often go to a lot of shows, wind up being one of the biggest ones. They've gone to everyone since 23 that I'm aware of, and fantastic, man, absolutely fantastic. Painted. What's painted? Skylar, groovy looking backyard. I dig that. Yeah, I'm at an undisclosed location, bro. This ain't my backyard. Let's just say that. Yeah, I understand. If they treated me bad, I'm not buying. But also, okay, I'm missing stuff in chat. Let me see if I can find anything directed at me. If you add up the micro brand price, okay. If most of you added up the micro brand prices to your collection, I'd probably equal up to a JLC price or a independent. Yeah, that's very true. That's very true. But at the same time, like for me, that would be fantastic, but at the same time, it wouldn't. Like, I need variety right now, Ben. That's going to change down the road. I'm going to need less variety as I collect and as I mature as a collector. But for now, dude, I rather enjoy a bigger collection for sure. Snobbery comes with luxury, but snobbery. You know what, dude? It's not just for luxury though. Like there's watch snobbery is not just for luxury watches. You can have snobbery across all price points, and I think that's just a mindset. You oftentimes see it with luxury brands, unfortunately, and luxury. But yeah, that's the world. That's the world. And look, like as much as I never advocate for being a watch snob, at the same time, the snobbery part minus that, and fake watches that are definite not, right? So we'll push those two aside. But when it comes to somebody saying, listen, for my lifestyle, I need a Rolex. One, I really like the way and I like the history. I like the way the Rolex feels. I don't have to worry about everybody and their mother says that Rolex is very, very good. But also, if they feel like the people that they're around own that kind of watch, and or they're in that kind of world where, because look, I understand that for some people and their reality, that's a thing. People are looking at your clothes, your car, your watch, and it becomes an extension of what you have to be in your reality for, right? And even though I don't live like that myself, doesn't mean I can't respect it for the next man that does live like that, and maybe they're happy with it, right? And maybe they don't have debt, and maybe they have everything in control, and they're not a snob, right? Because you own high end pieces, Ben. But I show you a lot of respect because you don't come on here and be like, here goes Santana again showing his whack watches. Here we go. Those aren't even, you know what I mean? Like you're nothing like that. So, you know, hey, I mean, there's just no end to the possibility, bro. No matter how you collect, we can always still have a conversation. I agree with Micros got caught up with their popularity and got a little crazy on the price structure. They are, and listen, there are micro brands that are way overpriced, and like even before trying to fit in with the times and fit into like what you can get in today's market for value on whatever you're offering, like there's just some micro brands that you're like, huh? And then there's sometimes where you do that, right? And you need to learn more. Like I'll give you an example, 5280. I thought he was out of his mind when I first, because all I heard was the price. And I was like, what? And then when you actually find out how the process is given into the each and every one, dude, the failure rate for the dials that he creates, which are by hand in a process that no one else is doing, you guys look it up, research it. The failure rate is 7-3. That's high. And there's only like one or two guy in the country, maybe there's a little bit more than that, but in his neighborhood or his neck of the woods that can actually create those dials. So there's other things that go into it. If you want to step aside from just the brand history itself, right? You might be a dial person that appreciates those details within the dials that are a rarity in its process alone. And that may be something worth the extra dollar for yourself too. Of course, we also expect other things from the watch to be there, right? It doesn't make sense to make a super beautiful dial that's so detailed and is so involved and then wrap that around a crappy case, a crappy movement. And I don't mean crappy by, is it this or is it that? I mean like literally like one that's just a no name who's heard of that kind of thing before. But you're gonna get other things. But yeah, when I learn more about it, but yes, there are some micro brands that do get ahead of themselves for sure, for sure. Let me go back down to the bottom. I'm sorry if I'm missing things in between. I'm vibing right now, and Lonely Wrist is in the building. What's up, homie? How are you? Welcome in. Actually, the opposite, man. Okay, that's not for me, Mr. Blake. Yo, so we're gonna close things out here very soon. Now that Lonely Wrist is in the building, I want to give a shout out for his channel, man. If you guys support me, please go over and check out his channel. It's absolutely phenomenal. I think what he's doing for the watch industry, I think what he's doing for YouTube in general, man, this is another whole topic that I probably should tackle with somebody else on the panel. But I do want to talk about what you guys think and feel. I know it almost feels redundant, right? Because I'm making content and you're watching it. But I almost want to talk about how you guys want to receive your content moving forward. We often talk about the evolution of watches and the watch industry and micro brands and big brands and how they all intertwine, communities and such. But I think that there's also an evolutionary process in the content being made, right? If you go back 10 years, you didn't even get anybody talking in front of a camera like we do now, where it was just music in the background and a watch, and you watched them unbox it. It was almost like ASMR minus the ASMR. But no, we're seeing a lot of evolution. And the more you consume content, right, on YouTube, whether you're watching reviews or you're watching the top 10 list or whatever the case may be, it could be repetitive. It could be very, very repetitive. I think that these lives help me in delivering content that's a little different. You guys are literally giving me what I'm going to be talking about next. So yes, I have an agenda, but you guys kind of steer the ship for me for a tremendous amount of it. And my point was this: I think Lonely Wrist Blake has a channel that is, yes, podcasts are made, yes, interviews are made. Just the identities that he's getting on his channel, his style, how he's trying to do and produce editing on the fly, where he brings the person up and it's just them chatting. Fantastic channel. I think that it's one of those gems in the earth that hasn't been unveiled yet. It's going to be a rocket ship. And if you guys support me, I do very much support him. So go over to his channel, check out some of his reviews. You may see some familiar faces on there. I did an interview with him. I wasn't talking about myself. He had interviews, and he's plugged into the Matrix. So he's talking to heavy hitters, man. He's a secret. He's a secret, but I don't want him to be anymore. So yeah, check him out. Check him out. What are we saying? What are we saying? Higher prices slow me down? Yes, they do, and make me earn the watch, make it more valuable. You see, Ben, and that's my whole thing, right? Like when people bring up, I think I was on with Travis, and he was like, "How do you feel about brands increasing it?" I'm like, "Yo, I don't know, man. Would I rather them all be $200? I wish every watch was $200 max. Sure, so I could, you know what I mean? But at the same time, it's like I'm so numb to price increases. I'm like, what didn't increase in price at this point? So why am I going to be so off the rails about, you know what I mean? And yeah, it does slow me down. And if I want something, I'm going to get it anyway. It may take me a little bit longer, but such is life. And maybe that will be a good thing as a byproduct anyway. Make sense? Got an Isotope. Isotope is dope, man. And you know what? The guy that what was his name? Was his name Joe? No. Oh man, when I went to the Philly fair, the guy was super dope, man. The first thing he said, I was like, "Hey," because I was warning everybody that I'm live, and do you mind whatever, whatever. He's grabbing the mic. He's like, "Yeah, absolutely, nothing to hide." I'm like, "Yo, that was a dope line." Jose, yes, Jose. Thank you. I don't like, oh, Jose, Joe. I was pretty close. Yeah, he's a super dope guy. Dude. And then there was somebody else that I messaged on Instagram. I forgot his name again, but it's the other half of the coin, and I want to meet him as well. Isotope is a really cool brand for sure. Let me make sure. I'm sorry if I missed things, man. If he honored to have that combo with you on your channel. Appreciate you, Blake. Yeah, we'll set that up. We'll set that up, man. Actually, you're a very good person to also have that conversation with. Travis, of course, I think in mind. And yeah, we'll put that together, man. I want to have, that's a very serious conversation, and it's not one that I want to have. Of course, I want to know what the community says, but I think that I want to have the conversation between just people like yourself and just like, where does the content need to go? How should we be presenting content in the future for this stuff? Because otherwise, we're just reviewing watches. We're saying the same thing that he said, right? Like Christopher Ward, just using them as example, no shade, but they come out with a watch, and then you see 20 reviews saying the same thing. Maybe the style's a little different. But at the end of the day, so it's like, okay, so what do we do? Like, minus the drama, like, what is it that the community want to hear? What should we be passionate about? What is important to the watch community as a whole to have a conversation about that actually is a positive thing for the community, right? That helps unite maybe newer people to the community itself, something that's inviting, entertaining, and also valuable in knowledge at the same time. I think that that's the content that we should strive for moving forward. I'm working on it. I'm always constantly thinking of different concepts. And as I flow through what I've already been producing and trying to pivot, we will come up with something hopefully together. What I would like to say is that the Casio building their own automatic move. I have mixed feelings about Casio building their own movement. Listen, at the end of the day, we almost want to see any brand that we root for come out with their own movement because it's cool. The problem is that, you know, I think that concept is more in a vacuum. Like when you actually apply outside factors to what it takes, and granted, it's not just about how deep the pockets are for a brand to do such a thing. Understand this. There are well-established brands, and there are brands that have been doing in-house movements much longer than Casio that have a high fill rate for their in-house movements. So my point is this. just because you can do something doesn't mean you should. It has to be done the right way. It has to be worth the while. You have to run all your testing. So I have mixed feelings, bro, because at the end of the day, that can, if Casio does do that and they botch it, are you going to give them a slide? Like if they say this is in-house, oh, and then by the way, it's $200, just like it's not even $200 anymore for a Bambino, two and change, three, right? You get the watch, you're super excited now because Casio did it in-house, and then the movement just explodes in 6 months. Are you going to say, well, that's okay, they tried? Because that's the reality of it, bro. Like, we can't just say, oh, do in-house. You have to take the external factors of having to do that the correct way. So maybe a modification of a movement that's been tried and true would be a safer route. But I understand what you're saying. And brands send watches out to sell them. That's fine and cool, but let people make their own opinions based on yours. Don't use the talking points brands want to use. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, so that yeah, that's almost like letting a brand script you. That's wild. I'll never allow that. But yeah, for sure, man. I think that you know what I think, Blake, and again, we're gonna have this conversation because this is a total different mindset for the type of lives that I run regularly. Like the mindset you're bringing up a very deep thought that like I have to say things to you, but I also have to explain it if I'm going to say it on a live stream like this. There's so many outside factors. So you get a watch, the brand expects you to have the review out for like 3 to 4 weeks max, right? There's always that timeline. They want things. I think that there are so many different changes that need to be made, bro. And one of the things that I've learned is that like, yeah, I can't receive a watch in a box today and then know everything about it or even have the right to get on YouTube and have an opinion about it because I took it out of the box, I gave it a glance, and then now I have an opinion of where it fits in the market and what this and that and that and this. Respectfully, even with the most experienced, I think that you need to spend more time just wearing the watch. I say a minimum of 2 to 3 weeks. And then you also have to let those thought processes marinate in where that watch fits as a whole. You know, it's great that it's a new watch and it's great that, you know, somebody reviewing it, it's going to bring sales and it's going to bring things to the surface and it's all for that. There's benefits on all sides. But what I'm trying to say is to get away from something that feels scripted and or sounds generic than somebody else, you have to spend more time. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. I think that, you know, there has to be a deeper thought in what watch reviewers think that watch enthusiasts need. Part of that is, listen, we're like micro brands. We need to hear the feedback from you guys so we can get away from, we're thinking everything's gravy if you're saying nothing, right? Oh, great review, very nice, cool. And so maybe you want to hear something else. Maybe you want to see somebody actually pressure test something at an AD. Maybe you want to see, and maybe it'll take you a little bit longer to produce that video. But guess what? Who's doing that? Yeah. Who's doing that? That's the point. And now if Santana's pressure testing it and Blake is going out into the ocean and actually scuba diving with it, now we're getting something different, wildly different. We have a guy who's testing it on the field. We have a guy that's testing it in a lab. Those are, and that's just examples, but those are the things that I'm talking about when it comes to watch reviewers and what we can add into it to make, and I know that's more involved, but it doesn't have to be as complex. It's just a concept that I'm trying to wrap around. People turn their opinion for responsibility to give them. It's 100% a responsibility, Blake, and I would feel miserable if I've turned down watches. I've turned down watches that I've received, and when I received it, it wasn't what was it just I wrapped my mind around it completely and I realized, you know what? That doesn't fit the type of vibe or the viewers on my channel, and I sent the watch back. And I still emailed the list of improvements for the watch because I genuinely want them to improve their watch as a brand, and I want them to become more of a watch enthusiast brand. Because if you can cover the grounds for somebody who's super nerdy and can take your watch apart spec by spec, your chances are you're going to make the guy happy who's just buying it because he thinks it looks cool. So yeah, dude, I've accepted watches. This happened to me most recently, and I shipped it out and I said, hey, look, respect. And they took it very well. They said, thank you so much for being very open and honest. Thank you. We hope that we could do something again in the future. No hard feelings. And I even put in the email, respectfully, Here are the things that I think you need to improve. I'm going to be very blunt because I'm only talking from A to B. I'm going to be very blunt, but don't take offense to this. I'm only giving you the insight to how watch enthusiasts are going to digest your watch. And I want you to be a winner. Therefore, here it is. If you don't like it, then there's a thousand different brands, baby. You can't buy me, you can't sway me, and that's why I chuckle when they're like, "Oh, it's a sponsored review. He's just gonna say nice things." I'm like, I'm not worried about a sponsorship, and a sponsorship is just them sending a watch that I could keep. So at this point, I don't want to say I'm numb to it. I'm not swayed by it at all. The truth is the truth, and if you go that route, the real one's gonna sniff you out anyway, and they're not even gonna. It's gonna be a quiet death. They're not even going to say anything to you. You're just going to feel the blacklist. Should I end on that note? Can we end in a positive? Yeah, bro, that's cuz you're the real. I appreciate you, bro. I try to be. I try to give it how it is, man. And that's the way it should be. Then again, cuz you know I always got to play politician. You guys know always cuz look, I always just try to look at everything. I'm mostly fascinated with things that are outside of what my visual capability is today. And the thing I understand every single day is that I don't feed my family doing this. I do this straight out of passion. So for me to tell you that the next guy's got to do it like this and got to do it like that is wild because I've never fed my family from doing creative things like YouTube and making it a business. So you do what you got to do, and hopefully it works out for you. But I'm going to do what I got to do, and I'm also going to stay in my lane. I have my opinions, but I'm also going to make sure to say that that's in my own opinion and realize that I'm a 5-year collector. I'm a watch enthusiast. I do this whole content thing out of passion. Therefore, whatever information you're getting out of me is from that perspective first and foremost. So I don't have those other factors that other people have. And if I did, would my now straight up lying is one thing. I would never do that. But I'm just saying, if I had to sell some watches to feed my, you know what I mean? So I don't know. Just saying. Positive note, I'll be on your turf in a few weeks. Fire, gonna see you in person. 100%, man. I can't wait. Can't wait. I'll see how it fits into the collection before I can even form my opinions. Exactly. Kevin Cook is in the building. He waves. Yeah, I'll save it. Yep. We'll save it for then. Casio with the Seiko movement is not a Casio nor a Seiko, so it would be pure, pure branding. And some people feel like that, dude. I completely understand that. And Brenson watches out to sell them. Okay, I read that. Yeah, there are only 3K people tune in for the opinion. It's your responsibility. Okay, I read that. I think I caught up. Ladies and gentlemen, I do appreciate you guys for taking this ride with me and showcasing the timepieces, giving me your two thoughts. Everybody who spent their most valuable asset to come in here is greatly appreciated. I love doing this, and it's all the worthwhile, and it's the reason, it's the whole, it's what makes it everything. So if you didn't take anything from this live stream, take my advice and seek community. Put yourself around the right people, and you're going to have a hell of a lot of fun. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, hope you have a fantastic weekend. And as always, I appreciate you guys for spending your most valuable asset, which is time. And I'll hopefully see you in the next one. Have a great weekend.